They don't say it out loud, but you can feel it. When you walk into a room, people shift. Their smiles tighten. Their laughter fades. Conversations die mid-sentence. It's not because you are rude, arrogant, or doing anything wrong. It's because there's something about you. An invisible intensity that they cannot explain, but cannot ignore. You ask deep questions. You listen closely. You speak with purpose. And when you look someone in the eyes, they look away. You have been told you are too serious, too intense, that you overthink everything. But what if you're not too much? What if, just like Carl Jung believed, your presence is charged with something far more powerful? An aura, not the fluffy kind, but a psychological force, a silent energy that challenges others without saying a word. Because people are not afraid of you. They are afraid of what you reflect back to them. Their own insecurities, their own fears, their own masks. And so they withdraw, they avoid, they gossip, they shrink themselves just to feel safe around you. Not because you are dangerous, but because your energy is honest. And honesty unsettles people who are used to pretending. Carl Jung spent his life studying this, the psychic energy that radiates from those who have confronted their shadow and stepped into their true self. This video will reveal the 13 signs your aura might be silently overwhelming to others, not because you are broken, but because you are rare. And in a world addicted to comfort, rare energy terrifies people. Most people think of an aura as something spiritual, a glowing field of colors floating around the body. But Carl Jung had a much deeper, more psychological view. To Jung, your aura was not made of light. It was made of energy. Not the kind you can measure, but the kind you can feel. He believed that every person radiates a subtle but powerful field of psychic energy, shaped by your thoughts, your emotions, and most of all, your unconscious. This energy speaks long before you open your mouth. It shows up in the way you walk into a room, in the way people react to you without knowing why, in the vibe you carry, even in silence. Jung called this influence the unconscious transmission of the self, and it comes from the parts of you most people ignore or suppress: your shadow, your pain, your truth. The more you confront those hidden parts, the more your energy changes. You begin to carry a different kind of presence, a presence that is not shaped by social masks or shallow approval, but by self-awareness, depth, and inner alignment. And people feel it, even if they cannot explain it. You can always feel it. There's a shift in the atmosphere whenever you speak, move, or simply exist in a space. Sometimes you enter a room, seemingly doing nothing out of the ordinary, yet you can sense the subtle changes in the behavior of others. Their eyes dart away, their posture stiffens, and some even lower their heads. You haven't done anything wrong, but their reactions tell you that something unspoken has made them uneasy. You've probably been told that you are too blunt, or that you ask questions that are too deep, questions that others are not prepared to answer. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, are you really too much? Carl Jung once spoke about the subtle yet powerful psychic energy that everyone radiates. This energy doesn't change because of our deliberate actions. It's something that naturally emanates from within, shaped by our inner world. It is connected to our attitudes toward life, how we view relationships, and even how we perceive ourselves. People aren't necessarily afraid of who you are. They are afraid of what your presence reveals to them. They are afraid of confronting their own fears, weaknesses, and the flaws they prefer to hide. This reflective influence doesn't just occur in social interactions. It is like a latent energy that silently transmits to everyone's subconscious. You might not realize it, but your aura is subtly shifting the way people around you behave. At times, they might even distance themselves from you to avoid confronting the truth you bring to the surface. They'll avoid making eye contact, steer clear of deeper conversations, and sometimes even feel uncomfortable when you speak. But this isn't your fault. It's because in a world that thrives on superficiality and avoidance, many people have become accustomed to living behind masks. When faced with someone who embodies authenticity, their discomfort is inevitable. What you reflect back to them is not the threat of confrontation, but the challenge of facing their own truth. The energy you carry doesn't come from aggression or arrogance. It comes from emotional honesty. And in a world where most people are comfortable in their illusions, this kind of truth is often too much for them to bear. Have you ever wondered why people seem to avoid you, or why you're labeled as too intense? It's not that they dislike you. It's that your presence challenges them to face what they've been avoiding for so long. It's in those moments that your energy becomes a mirror, reflecting back parts of them they'd rather not see. You might often find yourself unintentionally becoming the emotional outlet for others. Strangers start telling you their secrets, and friends come to you when they're falling apart. You've been called a therapist more times than you can count, even though you never asked for that role. This isn't a coincidence. Carl Jung believed that some people naturally carry the archetype of the healer, even if they aren't working in a healing profession. When you engage with others, your aura radiates depth, stillness, and a sense of emotional safety. People feel like they can open up to you, even if they've just met you. However, there's a paradox behind this. Despite always being willing to listen and offer comfort, few ever truly check in on you. You absorb the pain of others, but rarely does anyone ask how you're doing. You've become the person others turn to when they're struggling, but you're left feeling unseen. This kind of loneliness doesn't come from a lack of company. It's the emptiness that comes from not having the same depth of emotional connection in return. Jung believed that those who have integrated their shadow, the hidden, often suppressed aspects of the self, unconsciously become a container for others' emotions. Their presence creates a safe space where others feel comfortable unloading their burdens. Yet, it's this very sensitivity that also makes them a target for avoidance by those who are not ready to face their own shadows. You may have noticed that those who open up to you sometimes suddenly disappear, stop reaching out, or grow distant. This is not because you did something wrong, but because you've brought to light the parts of themselves they're not ready to confront. Your authenticity and emotional depth have revealed something they are not ready to face, and in response, they withdraw. Have you ever felt the weight of listening to others' struggles while feeling emotionally drained yourself? You give so much to others, yet when you need support, those same people often fade away. This emotional imbalance creates a deep sense of emptiness. Your energy pulls people in, but it also leaves you feeling lonely, as your deep presence can sometimes be too much for others to bear. You may have noticed that people often avoid making eye contact with you. When you walk into a room, the atmosphere seems to subtly shift. People glance at you, then quickly look away. Their tone softens, and some even avoid you altogether. It seems like a small thing, but it's impossible to ignore. Carl Jung once said that when we integrate the parts of ourselves that others deny, we unconsciously mirror what they have suppressed. Eye contact, for most people, is no longer just a social gesture. It becomes a psychic encounter. When you meet someone's gaze, you're not just looking at them, you are seeing them. The truth you reflect back at them can make them uncomfortable, even cause them to question their very existence. You don't need to judge them, but they will feel the honesty you're transmitting. This honesty, like a mirror, reflects their deepest fears. Jung believed that true self-integration is not just about coexisting harmoniously with others, but about having a conversation with the deepest parts of yourself. When you can face and accept your own shadows, your aura becomes stronger, more authentic. The energy you emit makes others feel like they're having a conversation with their own true selves. This isn't something they're participating in voluntarily. It's a collision that you unknowingly create by simply being yourself. Have you ever felt that strange discomfort when others avoid your gaze? That seemingly insignificant gesture is actually sending you a message, one that they may not even be aware of. The sincerity and transparency you show forces them to confront something they might not be ready to face. And you didn't do anything wrong. You simply allowed your most authentic self to show up. This authenticity can sometimes be too much for them to handle. Have you ever experienced the strange phenomenon where, when you're sitting quietly and doing nothing, people around you suddenly have strong reactions? You aren't saying anything. You're not doing anything out of the ordinary. Yet some people become defensive, irritated, or strangely cold. You might be left wondering, what did I do wrong? Carl Jung believed that when someone carries powerful, integrated energy, this energy unconsciously affects the people around them, especially those who are avoiding the darker parts of themselves. Your presence acts like a mirror, reflecting their insecurities, shame, envy, without you having to say a word. This silent power is the effect of a highly integrated aura, as described by Jung. You don't need to command attention through forceful behavior, because your very existence stirs reactions. Every move you make, every aspect of your presence, challenges the parts of others' inner selves they haven't confronted. Often, people perceive this as a threat. They may attempt to suppress your presence, but this isn't because you've done something wrong. It's because your energy forces them to face what they've been avoiding for so long. The strength of self-realization you exude is what they've spent a lifetime avoiding. Have you ever found that when you simply exist, people around you feel strangely uncomfortable? It's not just that your presence triggers their reactions. It's that the aura you radiate inadvertently touches on the unresolved pain within them. This power is often silent. It doesn't need words. Your mere being pushes others to confront parts of themselves they don't want to face. This emotional jolt can make them feel unsettled, even leading them to withdraw and reject you. Have you ever felt uneasy around people who seem outwardly friendly and kind, yet you sense something off about them? They smile, they act polite, but somehow you can feel a subtle dishonesty in their words and actions. You can easily see through their facade, and this ability often makes you feel isolated. It's not that you dislike them or have anything against them, but you can't stand the falseness of the surface-level interactions. Your inner sensitivity and intuition make you uncomfortable with these disguised behaviors. Carl Jung spoke about how, when a person integrates their inner shadow and achieves psychological wholeness, they become able to perceive the fragmented parts of others. When you interact with those who are trying to play a role or constantly hide their true selves, your energy unknowingly sends a signal. Drop the act. I can see who you really are. This signal may not be immediately recognized, but their subconscious will pick up on it, often triggering discomfort. You don't need to express judgment or criticism, but simply by being yourself, they feel unable to keep up the facade in your presence. They become uneasy, even rejecting. This reaction isn't because you actively expose their hypocrisy, but because your energy makes it impossible for them to remain at ease with their falsehoods. Have you ever felt that sense of separation from the people around you? You can't quite fit into their social circles, nor do you engage with the shallow conversations and surface-level smiles. You sense the falseness behind their friendly gestures, and it leaves you feeling uncomfortable. You don't reject others, but you can't accept the meaningless masks they wear. Your yearning for authenticity and your aversion to pretense make you an outsider in their eyes. They may see you as too intense, too deep, and that very authenticity is your greatest strength.